Welcome to another episode of Riding and Wrenching, the biggest little YouTube channel on the entire interwebs. I am your host, Q the Rider, and on this channel, I focus on riding and wrenching. I enjoy wrenching on my bike just as much as I do riding it. But my focus on this channel is actually to show you different ways that I save money by working on my own bike. In this video, I'm going to talk about a new product from Tab Performance called the Folsom Prison Series handlebars, because life is better behind bars, but not for me. The only bars I want to be behind are the handlebars of my bike, and that's what we're going to talk about in this video today. All right, so let's go ahead and get into this evaluation here. So we're going to talk about these Folsom Prison Series bars, and I'm going to start by talking about some of the pros and cons of these bars. The first thing that I'm going to talk about is just the fit and finish. These bars absolutely look fantastic. These are 12-inch meat hook style bars. And so there's a little hoop or hook here, a meat hook here, which most riders call it. Other than that, it's a pretty standard design. They are powder coated, and the powder coating, it came out really nicely. Just a good looking set of bars. Okay, the next thing that we're going to talk about are some of the claims that Tab makes in terms of how these bars are manufactured. And one of the key claims that they make is that these bars on the inside are welded in such a way to enable you to easily pull the wires through. In other words, all the welded parts are smooth on the inside. And I can confirm that the wires did pull through very easily. The other factor that makes these bars easy to pull wires through is just the diameter. These are 1.5 inch thick bars, and it makes it super easy to pull the wires through there. So I can confirm that claim by Tab. Now, the next thing I want to point out, and I don't know if this was intentional or not, but I did talk to Casey at Tab Performance, and it's the way that these bars blend in with my Clockworks windshield. So as you can see here, the meat, the slope of the bars going up to the meat hook, it's nice and smooth, and it flows right into the Clockworks bars, comes down on this side and flows right back in. It looks like it belongs. And when you're riding on this bike with these bars, I'm telling you, it looks fantastic. I really like that. That was a nice, really nice feature, and it just looks good. All right, so something else that I'll point out. Now, this is a 2022 Street Glide, which means I have a cable clutch, so I don't have a reservoir here. But even with that, from the edge of the meat hook to the tip of the grip, it's a little bit longer, and it's about 3/4 of an inch longer than that same measurement on the fat bagger bars. And what that translates into is you have a little bit more space here for your GoPro camera or any other accessories that you might want to mount, because I can't do that as easily on the KST bars on my Road Glide because there just isn't enough room. So that's also a really nice feature. So now let's jump into some of the cons. And I can tell you the biggest one is the adjustability of these bars. And what I mean by that is that most handlebar installs, you have some flexibility to either pull the bars back a little bit closer to you or push them away from you, depending on what you want as a rider for your comfort. Well, with these bars, unfortunately, there's a very limited amount of space that you have for adjusting the bars, because if I pull them too close, I have about maybe 1/8 of an inch clearance between the bottom of the bars and my gas tank. I can't pull these back any farther. This is as far back as I'm able to pull these bars. I'm also limited in how far I can push them forward because the bars are going to hit my windshield. So I've got them in the sweet spot. Fortunately for me, the sweet spot on this bike works. It's really good for me, and it's just nice and comfortable. But it might not be that way for a shorter rider. I'm 6'2", and let me hop on the bike and I'll show you what I mean. So my riding position, when I'm doing long distance riding, I kind of slouch down in my seat a little bit, and I just rest my hand on the grips, and I like to have a little bit of bend in my elbows. So this way I'm not gripping the bars too tight. And this is just very comfortable for me, because I can ride like this for hours. I can switch back and forth, and this is just nice and comfortable. A shorter rider might not be able to do that, because I don't want my arms fully extended, because then I feel like I'm more inclined to do the death grip on the grips, and that's when your hands start hurting. You want to be able to relax and just rest your hands on the bars, and I like to have a little bend in my elbows. This is just more comfortable for me. So again, a shorter rider might not like these bars. All right, so now the next thing I'm going to do is talk about how these bars compared to the fat bagger install that I did. Now, the one big advantage for the fat bagger install is those fat bagger bars are 2 pieces. And so that by itself made those bars very easy to handle in terms of running the wires through it. That was a piece of cake. One advantage for the tab over the fat baggers is, again, the length from the tip of the bars to the tip of the grip. It's a little bit longer, so that could be good or bad depending on the position that you like for your bars to be. But again, this gives me a little bit more room for accessories. And compared to the fat bagger bars, these tab bars are thicker, and it's noticeably thicker. The next thing that I'm going to talk about is the install process. To change out the handlebars, your goal is to gain access to the clamp, which is just underneath the fairing. So in order to get to that, you're going to have to remove your windshield, and there's 3 bolts on the front of the bike that hold the windshield in place. Then you need to remove the outer fairing. There's 4 bolts, 2 on each side, that hold the outer fairing. Once you pull the outer fairing back, you're going to have to disconnect the headlight. Once you have that done, you set those pieces aside, and then just underneath the radio, you're going to have to disconnect the 2 control wires and your throttle cable. And those are all on the throttle side of the bike. They're just underneath the radio. Okay, so you'll move both your clutch and brake handles, and then you can remove this piece, this trim piece here. There's 2 bolts on either side that allow you to remove that. Then you have to also remove both fog lights as well as the 2 nuts that are the 2 threaded bolts that are underneath these 2 nuts. All of that has to come off. And once you do that, you're able to tilt the inner fairing back, and that will give you access to the clamp. There's 4 bolts that hold the clamp in place. You remove those 4 bolts, and then you're able to take the handlebars out. Okay, so again, like I mentioned earlier, I've done a video on pulling the wires. See the description of the video, and you can for a link to where you can find my wire pulling video. It was pretty straightforward, and the nice part about these bars being so thick is adding my heated grips, because I've added Kahuna heated grips from Harley Davidson. There's 2 wires for the heated grip plus the wire from the left-hand throttle control that pull through very easily. All right, so the one key thing to note about these bars, even though these are 12-inch bars, on a 22 Street Glide, which is what I have here, your control cables are not long enough, and you will need a cable extension kit. Again, see my wire pulling video, and I go into that in a lot more detail. But in summary, again, these are great bars. I really like them. Special shout out and thanks to Tab Performance. So I shared all of my findings with Tab Performance. They were very receptive to the recommendations that I had on things that can make the bars better. All right, so there you have it. There's my evaluation of these bars from Tab Performance. Again, I do recommend them. I like them. I'm a taller rider, so if you're a taller rider, I really think you'll like them. Shorter riders, I don't know. I am going to do another video in a couple of weeks. I'm going to borrow a shorter rider and have them sit on the bike, and we'll put out another quick video with a review with a shorter rider on the bars. All right, so this is Q. I'm riding, I'm wrenching, and I am out.